So today we are talking about a useful math series that can potentially help your child or a student improve their foundations in mathematics.
Yeah. So we'll start with these are the early years ones. We'll do that second.
Yeah. So this is a series. It's the Maths for Practice and Revision.
By
series of books
Peter
by
Robson.
Yes. Yep. And I think he was the head of mathematics at an independent school or something like that. I'm going to do some pros and cons of these books, but let's just go through each book and say what each one tackles. So you got the book one, which is probably the primary school staple. So we
use it.
Yeah.
With everyone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Most students struggle with decimals, fractions, and percentages, and this book tackles those topics in detail. So we find it a very useful book. So there's book 2, blue. You got factors, proportion, linear measurement, approximations, and standard form, which isn't so useful for primary school but can be quite useful later on in secondary school. And then you got perimeter, area, and volume, which is useful for 11 plus exams and primary school.
The ones we usually use with our lot are generally 1 and 3. So 3 is the algebra book.
Yes.
Which the first or specific pages in there are useful for primary when you're just learning about algebra. But it goes into depth to the point where you can use it for GCSE as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone who has trouble and wants to build their foundations in algebra generally, this green book is really useful. I've used it with some GCSE students, some foundation students.
I've used it with year 5 and 6.
Yeah, so, some parts are relevant to
both. Yeah.
These books are really useful for certain topics. So you've got average, sets, bases, which not handled that much in schools. Angles and speed. Now, averages is useful for primary school.
Yeah.
Sets is useful for students that are doing GCSEs. You got bases, which is just working in different bases is something that occasionally comes up in independent school exams. You got angles, which is definitely valuable, and then speed. So many people have trouble with speed, distance, time questions.
It's more physics than anything, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, but you get that at primary school as well. Especially if they're going for 11 plus exams and independent school exams. You do have people who struggle with speed. And then this one, I mean, this is mainly so this book 5, this is more for GCSE students, although you got some strange topics here, but so you got matrices, which I think is more of a further maths topic, not really tackled on the main GCSE curriculum. Vectors, which is a GCSE topic. You've got simultaneous and quadratic equations. Now, simultaneous equations can come up in independent school exams.
Yeah. Strange how much GCSE shows up in independent schools.
Ridiculous.
It's quite a lot.
And then you've got trigonometry, which is obviously more of a GCSE topic, and you've got circles. And circles, it's like circle theorems and things like that, so that's more at GCSE level. If you've got any trouble with these particular topics, and at any stage in your school life, like Peter Robson is useful. It's a good investment because it's 5 books. They're very cheap.
Yeah, I was going to go on to this. Firstly, let's go on to design to start with. Really stand out. Really simple inside and out.
Yeah.
So the thing we like the most about these is the layout. So on one page you have your explanation and description. You've got corresponding exercises on the right side. So it's really easy for anyone to sort of learn.
Really
very easy to
well broken down, basically.
Yeah. So let's just I'm going to just pick a random one. Right, cancelling with a multiplication sign. So you can see there, it's all very visual as well, unlike a lot of other books. And then the corresponding questions on the other side. And that follows through all the way. So let's look at the algebra one. Brackets. How to deal with brackets, multiplying out, and then questions on multiplying out. Signs, questions on signs. It's all very straightforward. And I like the simplicity of the front covers as well. Like, it's very clear which book you're using.
Yeah. Have you got the red book? Have you got the?
That's what we say.
Yeah,
You've got the small red book. Yeah. And then all these 5 books, the mark schemes are all in one book. So these are all $3.95 each, and the mark scheme book for all 5 books in one is $4.95.
Usually, yeah. Obviously, like this may change or whatever.
Yeah, but at the time, it's been this price for a while.
Yes.
Links obviously are in the description for these.
Yeah, they're a very good series. My one criticism is sometimes it can be a little bit dry, especially with kids where they need a different approach. So I've occasionally you got to treat every student differently sometimes and find a route to understanding something that and it might not be this way.
It might not be, but generally speaking, 80-90% of kids will understand it in the way it's laid out here.
Yes.
And this is the way we
like to teach it. Yeah.
So that way we teach it anyway.
I have occasionally taught like different strategies for different students.
You have to adjust it depending on who you're working with.
And like like sometimes I've had some students and I'm like, okay, complete A, B, and C, sections A, B, and C, or whatever, and they're like, that's a lot. So sometimes you can feel it's
but then sometimes I just say do like questions 11 to 15.
Yeah.
Page 26 usually is the one that I go to.
So when setting exercises for your students, try and pick out what's feasible for them to do in a week. Yeah. So that's that series. I really, really like it.
And we'll go on to the early maths ones, which I believe you have some comments about, right? So it's, firstly, layout-wise, it's laid out in the same way. I think there's 4 rather than 5, and rather than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're A, B, C, D. And then you've got your mark scheme book for all of them as well. These are actually $4.95.
Yeah.
And the mark scheme is also $4.95.
Yeah. I'm not as much of a fan of these books.
Yeah.
I don't know if these are the most recent covers, but it's been a while since I've ordered them. But they're the early math series, and obviously with early maths you're doing a lot of sort of basic things like counting, addition, subtraction, shapes, but like the real rudimentary stuff, like real basics. You've got decimals and money. Wait a minute, let's do it in order. Multiplication and division. Then you've got decimals and money, blue book. Then you've got fractions. I actually like this one. Sometimes I've used this one. But I'm not that much of a fan, because when you're working with younger students, I like the fraction one. I think it's quite nicely laid out. But
it's laid out nicely. There's a lot of spaced out nicely as well. It's more visual because it's obviously for younger students.
I mean, some of it is quite visual, but I find some of the pages a little dull for. Like I know it does it.
Yeah.
It's more the presentation for younger kids rather than, how he's done it. I mean,
if you were going all the way back to, Key Stage 1, you would need some visual, like concrete.
Yeah.
But when you're doing column addition, like what more can you really do than?
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know, a bit of visual interest is sometimes nice.
I think it depends on the book, because like if you're doing addition, you're going to have column addition, but if you're doing counting, obviously it's more visual. So I think it depends on the topic, sorry.
But again, like, I can't criticize the book in terms of how he breaks down the topics. He's so good at.
I think that's the key with these books.
Yeah,
they're broken down in such a way
logical order.
Yeah, easy for parents to understand, easy for tutors and teachers to understand.
But
easy to work through.
So these are like the rudimentary things that you should know before you move on to these books. Essentially, I do think these are a brilliant investment for any parent in primary school to make, and you can use these books throughout their
until GCSE, yeah.
And sometimes
Even
beyond,
further, yeah.
like the matrices and things like that. You can use that for like further maths and so there's a lot of good content here, and they're very reasonably priced as well. That's something that I like about them. Some series of books, like the fact that it's got one answer book for these 5 books, I think is actually a big selling point.
I think so too.
Obviously not like our books. We include our answers.
Well, ours are included, yeah.
but so.
But like someone like Schofield and Sims,
yes.
similar price books, however, answer books are.
Yeah. Like so, Schofield and Sims, you're spending a hell of a lot more. It achieves a different.
It's a different,
aim, but these books just brilliant investment to make, and very, very, very simple. Your child can some kids can follow these explanations really well as well. So, ideally, you'd have someone sort of guide the child through each section, but I've had some students, they go, okay, I've forgotten how to add fractions, and then they've looked at the explanation and then they understand how to do it. So I can't really criticize them for that. I like that they're small. They're not massive books as well, which is good for students taking them around.
Yep.
So really highly recommend these books. Links are in the description, and we hope that was helpful, because we find them a staple of 11 plus preparation and beyond.
Yeah, we've been using them for years. Yeah.